Maybe one short update and question also especially to you, Pete, for the funded Catalyst Swarm SingularityNET proposal, which is pretty awesome. Woo! But you're pretty busy with the Rare Bloom event right now. So would love then to say, hey, maybe let's go with a kickoff meeting somewhere in the end of October when Rare Bloom is over and you have the doors open again for other stuff. Does this sound fair?
It sounds perfect to me, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So Rare Bloom is 17th, 19th, something like this, no?
A bit earlier, 14, 15.
Okay, cool. So we could go for something like the 4th week, for example, of October.
Sure thing, yeah.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah, I think we can use either use a process guild session for that or do an additional session. That's all good. I think actual some dedicated sessions would be better. All right. Looking at the time, let's get started with the agenda. It makes some slides. Let me share screen. Let's see. Yeah, first wanted to provide a bit of an update on the workbook, process guild, and the podcast group. And afterwards talk a bit about the tasks and rewards. I mean, it's the same structure lately every time, which is fine. It's a decent structure. And then afterwards, there's some room for open topics or DMs. So let's jump right in, I guess. For the Process Guild meeting, we had a session this morning working on translations and quality control. Yeah, basically making the processes in such a way that they can scale. This is getting fairly close to being done. The next session, I think we will work on the onboarding and how we will onboard people. So if you're inclined to, if you want to share your opinion on that or want to help out in the processes, do join on Tuesdays, 10 UTC.
Where are you doing this?
Same place as this, just the event section of the ambassadors section of Discord. Yeah, and then perhaps Tifa, if you want to, could you share a bit more on what we worked on this morning?
Yeah, sure. So today we mainly went to details of how to establish what are the translator requirements, and I would say we got a pretty good baseline. I can share a document. I formatted a bit too, including some other snippets of requirements we needed from other parts of processes. I'm trying to find the chat. Okay, found it. And then, then another part where we are now, as you can see on the slide, making like a survey. So instead of coming up how could we have an interview with the translator, what should we ask, what context we should know, all of that information. We thought we could do it in a quicker, decentralized way, in a way that we created the survey and then write a bit about the scenario of where the translator comes in, and then what questions you would ask for the translator before you would accept him or her to write translation for you. And then we aggregate these questions, what people come up with. We could also maybe perhaps incentivize it to do that, but that's beyond the point. That will actually give us aggregated information of what are the main things people want, and from that I would say that kind of have finished the first part of how to onboard the translator, what needs to be done, what needs to look at. and then a few checks and balances section, how to validate it. If Peter has time, he assigned himself a task to check out how to like share, how do we collect the proof of work. So message templates, what could be copy pasted and slightly changed for different channels, and that would also like ease the project management flow. Once the translator is accepted and he has done the translation and it is given to the communities, and now we're basically getting the feedback. And yeah, so, and final thing we will and probably go back to is just look at it, how do we like level up the translator year one, because what we have been doing past few weeks, when we look at the translator stuff, we found that we could like level up the translator in a sense that first he has project management support in D-work and he only has to worry about doing translators. Then he learns up to actually take the tasks and move the task around the D-work himself and communicate with the channels his own and collect the feedback, and finally actually making to the level that if he has done it several times and he always gets positive feedback, maybe remove the checks and balances, and in the end basically translator is accumulating both the project management and feedback part into his work, so then it gets quite sustainable for the translator to actually do the work. So it's like scattered between different people doing different tasks, but in the end kind of move towards the translator who is able to pick the task themselves, schedule their time, and if he's also certified, like qualified by the community, doesn't even have to get feedback every time he does something, and make sure that the quality is there. Yeah, so next week we're going to look at the survey results on that 10 UTC, create the priority list and some refined questions, and then also play through, I think we will have some more time, play through the entire process, like take up the work, move the desk around, and the third week and week after that we're probably going to just refine and finalize it, but that may not actually even come, because then we're just gonna start the process and every nook and cranny we can fix as we go. So yeah, I would say the next week is going to be a lot about finalizing that process. And we did already look at, okay, what other priorities we have other than translation tasks. So this would be we're thinking about the retrospectives a bit, and then incentivizing operations around the innovation fund, so T fund. Yeah, and if you feel like there is some kind of process which needs to be addressed, and that you have a working group or want to establish a working group and you're not quite sure how to funnel people, how the process should work to kind of get acceptance, or even how do I get funding or incentives from Singularity Treasury, what's the process for that? We could also come up, take that as an agenda and work on that. So it's all done there. Yeah, I took a bit, maybe too much time, but that's like a cool.
Thanks a lot.
The thing we did.
Yeah, it's a good overview. Thanks. Then let's see I did want to point out. Basically, the ambassador program it's kind of moving from pilot phase into, well, life, I guess. Final form is a big word, but yeah, something beyond pilot phase. And I do want to have a survey for everybody who, so far, pretty much anybody who did anything for the ambassador program to, yeah, capture a bit of the, have a bit of a temperature check, let's say, see what people feel, what can be improved, what we should focus more on, if anything. I'm sure there's, yeah, there will be quite some input there. So That's something I don't right now know exactly when that will be done, but aiming for this month. And also there the invitation, if anybody feels like providing or helping on setting that up, do let me know. Yeah. And then for the podcast work group, Julian, I added a line on you being on a roll because it does feel like that to me.
Oh, good. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting somewhere. Trying to do something every week here. So yeah, basically last week there was a bit of a hiccup because we had a major hurricane hit Florida on my side, so I had to flee. But fortunately for, I guess, our area, we didn't get hit all too bad. There was major devastation just a little bit south, but luckily for us, obviously, I don't mean luckily for them, but luckily for our area, it did end up turning in eastward before going north because the original trajectory was supposed to be coming right into where I was. So yeah, I basically came back from that once things were safe, and we're basically finalizing everything that was happening last week. I'm going to be posting the interview I did with Jasmine Smith, the CEO of Rejuve. It's edited and I'm basically uploading it now, and I'm going to send it over. We kind of did a couple of checks because we just want to make sure that there's nothing talked about on there that's, going to be any, obviously they're still in a beta phase. So there's a little bit of sensitivity there. So we're kind of checking and double checking everything that we talked about. And she actually wants to take a final look at the video. So I'm going to send it over to her unlisted after this video. And then what I asked her was hopefully she can get a look at it. There's just a couple of specific points and conversation points that we had that she wanted to look over, and just to see if there was any conflict of interest there. And then hopefully it'll be posted tomorrow, but I'm hoping I can get it out in the morning, Eastern Standard Time in America, if possible. But it'll be out tomorrow regardless. So that's exciting. I'm trying out some new things, with my very limited amount of knowledge when it comes to video editing. I'm trying kind of to make things a little bit better and better every episode. I did try this new thing that I've seen on podcasts where they have maybe like a little scene of interest from a little point in the episode that kind of perks people's interest. So I'm going to be implementing that. I have that in there as just kind of an interesting part of that I'd like to start implementing into the podcast, just because I enjoy that on the podcast I watch. And then moving forward with upping the production value, as I spoke about last week, if anybody had a chance to hear that or whatever. Basically, my friend that I've known for many years is a very amazing, at least to me, graphic artist, comic artist. That's what he does for a living. And so we're implementing him in as an artist for the channel to do some SingularityNET podcast related artwork, basically. So we're going to start off doing like an intro piece. It may just be a static graphic type thing to start, and then we're building it out, and we're going to basically do as much as we can do with the amount that we gave him. Basically, there was about, give or take, $250 that was left over from the podcast funds that we've gathered over the previous few months, and then I added an additional $50 from my own Singularity, because basically I just got rid of a bunch of basically all my AGX except for my separate. I have a few, thousand left in a separate one to be able to basically do airdrops and to participate in things like that. And so with that 300, we're basically going to get what we can get from him. And he's a good friend, so he'll do what he can. I just don't know exactly. We're still in the development process of figuring out what it'll turn into with that amount. So we're basically going to start small. I talked to him about basically maybe starting off with black and white, and then as we down the line and there's more funds, we can give more money towards him, or if I have the money, I can add in my own personal funds as well to help maybe fill it out with coloring and more details in the future. The first image I had for the kind of like the infographic as you go into an episode would be just to go back for 1 second, I changed the name of the podcast. So it's not just going to be called the SingularityNET Community Podcast anymore. I think that's fine, but it's a little bit generic. And so I've changed it. I want to call it Stories from the Singularity. And that's kind of like, will just be the branding. I don't think we need to put podcast in with it necessarily, because I can see it turning into like a whole brand thing where we could do mini documentaries. We could do a lot with that. But yeah, just kind of like, doesn't have to be just SingularityNet stuff all the way down the road. I'd love to, involve, Cardano projects and all different sorts of stuff in this area. But for now, obviously, we're focusing on SingularityNet stuff. And so with that said, the image I had in mind was basically a picture. We're on top of like maybe a cliff face, looking onto like a big city, like a futurescape kind of future city. And we'll be at a fire, like a campfire. And the idea would be that maybe Sophia and like Desdemona, maybe a few of the characters from the community, and I'll be there, and we'll kind of just be maybe talking, and behind us the cityscape will be sprawling out, and we'll be on the very edge of like kind of this like cliff face looking down, and there'll be like this big drop below us, so it'll be this very kind of majestic look, and then the city behind. Picture like a smart city of the future where you have, architecture built in with agriculture, and obviously the amount of detail we'll be able to have on it is we'll have to see. Originally I had pictured it being a bit further out, looking down out onto it with the characters a little bit smaller. My friend Craig said that might not be quite as good of an idea, just because where most people will be watching or looking at the stuff through either most likely a phone many times or through their computer, you may want to zoom in a little bit. So basically we're thinking about zooming closer in onto the image. So maybe you can, if you pictured the camera, say Desdemona's on the left, just for an example, and it's like you see the back of Desdemona's head, you see the back of Sophia's head, and then the camera would be, the fictional camera would be like behind both their heads in the middle between both characters, and then you'll see me on the other side of the fire, maybe like playing a guitar or talking to them. And the idea is just stories from the singularity, like we're around a campfire talking about whatever, and then but it's going to integrate, so that's where you get your story metaphor kind of thing. But then you have your future city in the back to exemplify like the future of the singularity. And yeah, so that's basically where we're at. We're waiting to hear. We have to talk. Peter's just checking for us to see, because Sophia isn't technically like SingularityNet copywritten. Like it's kind of a broader like Hanson robotic type situation. So we want to make sure we don't step on any toes in regards to copyright stuff. But yeah, that should be exciting. And then my idea would be that we could take that, and if say we do that intro image, we may be able to cut that down into also like a YouTube banner. So that could be like my YouTube banner for the channel too. And yeah, the idea would be to build out that whole series, and then he's just such a great artist. I could share my screen and show some of his work real quick. Do I have time, Peter? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So
I think somebody is coming through.
So this is his work here. Let me get over here. Sequential art.
Julian, you have some really strange noise behind, I think. Or is it just me?
It's not me, but it is somebody.
Yeah, spice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, yep. So this is some of Craig's work. You can actually find Craig on Instagram. I was saying last week that it's Craig Florence, but it's actually the Instagram channel is CR Florence, and they have a bunch of cool stuff on Instagram as well. And very amazing artists, like super one of my favorite all time. Not just saying it because he's a friend, but I think he can do some great work. And then we had mentioned last week with Haley that they're looking for more collaborations with artists and stuff for Mindplex. So I talked to him actually today. I had a little meeting with him this morning where we talked about the artwork for the channel and mentioned to him about that the Mindplex team is looking for more collaboration. So we may end up trying to do some work with them, maybe trying to come up with some short stories or graphic novels for them too, which is pretty exciting. I definitely want to get them involved. They're interested in the work being done here, and I've been kind of singing the praises of SingularityNET to them for a while now, and it seems like they're in a very open-minded kind of allowing they're like just they have kids and stuff, and so they're finally coming around to being like, let's take a look at this stuff. So it's kind of cool. Moving forward, I just got contact information for Gabriel Axel Montes. So it looks like he is interested in sitting down for a talk. So that's going to be the next interview there, setting that up as soon as possible. And, you know, as soon as that's ready, if we can get it for next week, that would be great. If not, we'll do something else to fill it in there, but that would be the goal. And then moving forward, Diane Kraus from Jam Galaxy, and also a couple other, she spoke, I had Peter reach out to her, and I just saw that it looks like they're actually, she had, you know, basically suggested that Tony, the CTO, and then Danny, who's we've seen before on some of the Inside SingularityNet episodes, would be good to have on as well. So that might be like, you know, the four of us sitting down, which would be really cool, and super excited about both of those coming up. I'm really invested in both those projects. As far as Rejuve, I know they just opened up their second beta, or their second kind of release into the beta, like an update, and it looks like they are looking for more participants to the beta. So when that posts tomorrow, or I'm sure you can find out on their Telegram, I actually think I can post it here in the, because I have a message from Jasmine. Yep, let me just post this real quick inside this chat here for now. But basically, it's just rejuve/AI. It's a bit of a long one, but if you go to their Telegram, I imagine it's there. I'll post it here in the chat. But they're looking for more beta testers, and there's a lot going on with them. So look for that interview posting tomorrow on my channel. And that's basically where we're at this moment, I would say. And then this is posted now.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, there's more beta testers needed. Yeah, it's a cool app, so I would definitely suggest to check it out.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm looking forward to that interview. Like I told you yesterday, I think Jasmine is in the same cohort as me, like joining SingularityNET from community side. Yeah, I don't know. I like her a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fun conversation and interesting for me. I think it would be fun. It's such a cool project, and it's just so interesting to see, you know, how things, just like the compartmentalization of, you know, medical information in general, and how it's kind of all been just sitting there for years and years on these, you know, isolated hospital computer systems, and there's no integration as far as communication of the information on a broader scale, and they're trying to basically solve that. And it's just it's like a paradigm shift, I think, for the whole medical record, and then as a result helping with diseases. I just think integrating that in with AI, AGI it's just going to be amazing over the next following like decade or so. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, 100%. I always get inspired by the aim to cure aging. It's just yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. And I know we had talked about this, Peter, I think last week on the community podcast. But if anyone's interested in longevity, I know Ben certainly is, and I am, and obviously Peter and I just talked about it now. But it's some really interesting stuff there. And Ray Kurzweil actually just did a really interesting interview on the Lex Friedman podcast. So if you wanna, that was from maybe like 2 weeks ago. Ray Kurzweil talking about just that super longevity. And I mean, he's very bullish, I would say, on that. So it seems like we're getting to the point where, we're going to have to start rethinking what death even means and, start, being more open-minded to living a lot longer, which would just be great.
I fully agree. In that regard, reminds me that coming weekend there will be Radfest, which is basically all about that. I think Ben is speaking there, but I think Ray Kurzweil is also speaking there. The lineup is pretty insane. So it will be...
That's cool. Is it, you say rap or rat? How do you say it?
Raad, but that's Dutch pronunciation. Let me put it in chat.
Sure. Okay, yeah.
I'd grab the URL if I knew it.
I can certainly find it.
I'm not 100% sure if they've got live streams going on, but yeah, there will be plenty of coverage, of course.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, then I do want to point out. Thanks for explaining, but also I do want to point out if anybody here or listening in later is interested in helping out on the podcast work group. Do feel free to join in on Mondays 18 UTC. Also here on Discord. All right, then I'll hop to the next slide. I did send the rewards for September, just like an hour ago-ish. Updated the sheet as well. I still do not automatically get an email notification with the transaction, like the Cardano scan transaction thingy. So right now that's not in the spreadsheet, but I will update that once I get it. I think for now I should actually, I guess I could ask you, Julian, to give me that transaction, because you receive tokens for the work group, so technically you should have it, but let's arrange outside of the meeting.
Okay, yep. I just looked there and I got it, so yep, we can do that.
Let's have some confirmation of the thing you're working.
No, I don't see it anywhere. You're gonna have to send it again.
Sure. Good. Now let's see. There's 2 blocks upcoming. September ecosystem update recap block and the operations Q3 block, and those will be popping up in dwork once they are published. Just a small heads up there. And I do think that brings us pretty much to the open round section of the meeting. So if there's anybody with topics to discuss, questions to ask, now is the time for that.
There is a sure uptick on the governance proposals on deep funding, so that's nice to see. I wasn't even actually able to go through all of them. I scheduled time to actually do that because I assumed there will be something, but didn't expect there will be more than that. What's that right now? And
if it's 15,
it's nice to see. So just a nice shout out to the governance side on the defunding.
Yeah. For those interested in that side of community participation, tomorrow we'll have a community call about these proposals, where everybody who made a proposal is invited to basically explain what they're aiming to do, and then with community input to refine the proposal. And yeah, so the submission deadline closed last Sunday at midnight UTC, and then there's a 2-week period of community discussion. This is all on the Swipe platform I linked earlier, and also on Zoom. So I think that's tomorrow at, I believe, 16 UTC. Yeah. And you can find the link to the Zoom call. Should be in. Let me double check. Yeah, it's in the deep funding section of Discord. There's a community governance channel, and if you join in there, well, you get to discuss with the people who made proposals, and you will get some buff reputation and some AGIX tokens for participating. So, yeah.
See a new person in the crowd. Creed. Perhaps. Not if you don't want to be on spot, then too bad. I already put you. Do you want to introduce yourself? Share. How did you join? How did you find out this place? And just interested to know.
And are you actively listening? You are. Go ahead, sorry. I thought I saw a little unmute there, but it's all good. If you prefer lurking, that's perfectly fine. Creed so far did provide 2 or 3 translations, I believe. Yeah.
Translator army from, I wonder which community is it? Because we got 5 translation languages.
Well, Creed,
how did you find the translators? Like, I'm just wondering, like, how did you get there so we can have more impact on that aspect of channeling that energy to the right place? Maybe we're just running around in circles without knowing, okay, where do we get these translators, where do we get this feedback to check these translations all? And if you are from there and you like maybe say, I found this from here and I joined because I heard this, that would be good feedback. But if you don't want to voice your opinion, you can also talk in chat on the right side, the P bubble.
I guess the same kind of goes for Little Bits and Sugar and Spice, which are also contributing a lot to the translations.
I muted Sucre because he has this. Okay, now I don't see feedback, so you're unmuted, Sucre.
Seems we've got to make a survey to get these opinions out of the contributors, which we will do.
Yeah, this was one of the agendas in the process code. Okay, how do we do retrospectives, and do we have enough audience to get that information, and where should we actually focus the retrospective? On the ambassador, on the processes, on podcasting, or something else, governance, which is somewhere here between us, but they're not really pinpointed it. So, yeah, but always after Townhall. Well, I keep saying after Townhall, but this is just the SingularityNET Townhall. It's a great place to actually also give feedback, so we know how to improve.
So you're trying to figure out where someone joins the Singularity, right?
I was just wondering where he hopped to. Peter had the insight of he has seen his name on translating.
I was thinking like if you're trying to think something like that, it would be nice if you, for example, if you have like almost like lead page where you'll have, for example, if someone puts in the email or something like that, and then you could have something like, how did you find us? Something like that breaches like this gap where you see where our people are coming in. Like that's usually like what businesses do. They have like these lead pages, or let's say somewhere where they register. They actually ask as well, how did you find us? Maybe if you can find or think of some idea like where someone comes into the game and the first time when they register, maybe you just ask them there like. Then you can kind of like then you can reverse back this, and you can actually start figuring out where is the most effective marketing channel in your
But I fully intend on having that survey joint effort, so anybody welcome.
I guess it's a funneling question because like first you want to ask where did you find out about SingularityNET, and then where did you find about Ambassador Townhall, but that assumes they are in here.
Well, we do know from dear work anybody who at some point did something, so I think that would be the current audience to send the survey to.
How many channels do you have right now? You mentioned podcast. What else do you have?
Well, there's kind of two other ones. In a way, the translations, it's not really a work group, but it kind of feels like a work group to me. And then there's the Process Guild, which basically looks at the ambassador program itself and how to, well, as the name implies, get the processes in place. Yeah, a bit on a meta level, looking like how can we build out the program in the best way.
Okay.
But we are super open to having more work groups. If people have ideas or want to start one, that's very, very welcome.
I did want to ask, do you know yet when the next Inside SingularityNet episode will be happening or posted? Probably like posted a week later, a few days later, but do you know when it's happening yet for October?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I want to shout those out. If anyone is having, it's just a good way to keep tabs for anybody listening to this. Probably a lot of you guys in here know about it already, but if not, yeah, those are really great updates month to month. They're kind of long, but they're great. You can kind of just watch a little bit at a time. And then if you don't have the time at all, I've been doing, we'll see if I do continue to do it, but I've been doing little snippet, like 20-minute videos, streamlining all the information on my channel as well. But yeah, those are really, really been fun to watch. I've been posting on the official SingularityNet channel.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like right now I cannot commit to it because it's planned for the 7th. But that overlaps with a lot of ecosystem people traveling still from Rare Bloom. because yeah, we're gonna be very present there, let's say. So I'm not entirely sure if that one will actually be recorded, and if not, it would be a week later.
Okay.
So second half of October,
Okay.
broadly speaking. But we'll keep you posted on it, no problem.
Cool.
All right. I think we covered most. Go ahead, Tifo.
Yeah, I would say that was a good notice, because one thing what these ambassadors we kind of should do, but we, based on the capacity, we are more doing it from ground up and having our own groups first establishing. But I think outreaching to all of these SingularityNET spin-offs is actually one of the tasks which in the end we would kind of want to bridge, to give them the same ability to have the outreach through the ambassador programs to other spin-offs and to the broader community. But because it takes time to kind of cultivate the expertise and ability to create such a social infrastructure from here, it is like it is. Small working groups doing their thing, sharing what is happening, where is the state moving, what are the next steps which needs to be done. And oftentimes this town hall may feel like an update for working, but over time it will focus more on outreach and announcements. At least that's my vision, what I think we will going to see over the months to a year to 2 years. But of course, Peter can always correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right there. Absolutely. I'm trying here and there to get spin-offs to provide tasks or ideas for work groups. On the practical side, like, yeah, Nunet seems quite open to it, but the other projects which haven't spun off yet, for them it's not a priority, because the priority is to actually spin off. And yeah, of course you can argue that having support from the ambassador program can help there. It's not even too far-fetched. But yeah, it's slow, but ongoing.
And I think that was a nice approach through the translations, because you actually already providing the outreach, like 3 of people who were here and who were translating, actually having the impact of already doing this step by step, moving towards to creating that stage where outreach could happen to different languages. So thank you for translating, taking it seriously. And same for Collins, who is already connecting these people, getting them interviews and getting the ground truth of who are the person. So that's another step to that direction.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then final check if anybody wants to ask something, mention something. And then if not, I think that's a wrap for today. Awesome. Thank you all for attending, and hope to see you either tomorrow during the Deep Funding Community Governance Call or during one of the work group sessions. And if not, maybe next week at the Town Hall. Thanks a lot.
See.
Bye-bye.